Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the BrownCast Odyssey, which is our journey into the process and, journey of becoming filmmakers and working in the film industry.
Yes.
So, with me today is David Grayson. You all know who he is, friend of the show. He's been with us on a lot of projects. And he himself is a young and, I guess I would say, up and coming be a right term, or
Aspiring,
that's a better word. He is an aspiring actor, and today he's here with me to talk about a side that we don't often hear about with independent projects and student films, and that's the acting side, namely the acting side where a lot of it is done on like good faith, you know.
a lot of good a lot of quote unquote, deferred payments.
Yeah, where it's like they'll pay you an experience.
Yeah, I'll pay you an exposure, and if we make $1 million, you get 100.
Yeah. So it's one of those things you don't hear about it a lot, and for those who are like wanting to learn a little bit about film, you don't think about this very often when you're trying to, especially early on, when you're trying to like get actors, especially real actors and not just like hobbyists or people you kind of know. That's definitely a side you don't think about until either you have something kind of similar to what I had, where you had like several actors just go, I can't do it, not enough time.
Yeah. That happens a lot.
It does.
It's rare, I think. This is not necessarily to pat myself on the back, but pat people on the back who do this, who make themselves extremely available.
Yeah.
And are extremely accountable and reliable, and they don't cancel things usually. And it's a rare thing to find. I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. You could be in the center of Hollywood, the center of Manhattan, or in Oklahoma City, and it's a rarity.
Yeah. And a lot of it just is, there are some people who want to get into the main Hollywood business and they want to be like a successful actor. And then there's people who are just kind of like content with their lot, and everyone's got their own objectives. So today I'm going to be talking to David about working on student films in particular, mainly because he's just gotten off of several he's been working on over the past couple months.
Yeah.
And I felt it would be fun to have him share some of his insights on it. What are some of the things you notice as far as when they're trying to recruit actors like yourself? What are some of the things you should think about? Like if I were trying to recruit you and I didn't know you, what are some of the things you want to hear? And what are some of the things that you think are kind of like a must and kind of stupid to promise?
It's a good question. It requires a bit of unpacking. But you were saying to elaborate on what I should say to you, or like what you would want to hear, I guess, in order to allure actors.
Yeah.
So from the acting perspective, I think if you really are confident about your script, that's probably the most important thing, because if you're really confident about your script, it's almost, I don't want to say it's a guarantee, because it's not necessarily, but at a certain level of the industry, it's almost a guarantee that you're going to get good equipment and good cameras and stuff like that if you are confident in your script and you think that, man, if we can just get some good equipment for this script, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And because that's what actors want. As narcissistic as that sounds, they want to see themselves in a good movie. And you can't really fault them for that. I mean, they are kind of in it for the accolades a little bit. Obviously, they're in it for the art of, make-believe or pretend or whatever you want to call it, or just getting in the skin of somebody else. But they want to see a good movie, because most people in the film industry are moviegoers. And when watching one of your own movies, that's what you want. You want everybody who was involved in it to be able to sit back and not even be thinking about the production side anymore, just enjoying it.
Mm-hmm. So you could definitely argue that a big one with the script is, with an actor, it's got to not seem like it's a waste of their time.
Yeah, and you have to have some self-awareness. Like, if you're not a screenwriter, you probably shouldn't be the one coming up to an actor and saying, I got this awesome script, because I mean, like, you don't lie to actors.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's the thing. A lot of people lie to actors and say, "I got this juicy role for you. It's going to be great and it's going to be awesome." And then you get there, or you read the script in a read through or an audition, and it's just garbage.
Yeah,
and that's not necessarily like a diss. Not everybody can be an amazing screenwriter. If we could, we'd all do it. Mm-hmm. But I've had a lot of people kind of mislead me unintentionally because they just couldn't admit to themselves that they weren't awesome. At certain things.
So it's so you would definitely say it behooves the director, producer, or if you're lucky, a casting director, to be realistic about what they have and so that way they can recruit the right type of person. Mm-hmm. So if they've got something like, Birdemic, to name a movie, mm-hmm. Maybe trying to trick some higher end actor is probably not something they should be doing if they want to have a good reputation.
Yeah, and I mean, have some respect for the people that you do this for. Don't assume, like, I've made this mistake, is I've made myself so available before that people go, "Oh, he'll do anything." And that's a negative side effect of being so available and being so reliable, is that people will kind of use you like a doormat. But like a doormat that can be turned into an actor at any moment's notice.
Yeah.
It's really not that simple. And you can't treat, like you said, actors like their time is worthless. They are equally as important as anybody behind the camera, because without the actors, you're filming nothing. A big thing as well for actors is what they call actor bait. An actor bait is usually when it's like a really juicy scene or a really juicy story that an actor can sink their teeth into. Mm-hmm. And, like Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood, or Will in Good Will Hunting, or Will Hunting and Good Will Hunting. Those are roles that an actor can really sink their teeth into because there's a lot of range in those roles. There's a lot of nuance and subtlety to the performance that a good actor can really bring to the surface. And that's what you want. You want, a script that really makes actors go, "Wow, I could kill this. I could do this. I could do this justice."
Alrighty.
To get an actor to be in your movie, and to show that you're serious and that you really value their time and their talents, an important thing to do if you're a student filmmaker primarily, or an amateur filmmaker who doesn't have money or ability to pay them, promise them IMDb credit, promise them demo reel footage, and if it's a really good actor and you think it's going to be a really good movie, put it into festivals, because an actor wants to be seen. That's their whole career. It doesn't behoove an actor to be in movies that aren't seen. Mm-hmm. It's fine for writers, because as a writer, even if the movie doesn't get made, you still have the script. You still have a tangible thing.
Yeah.
But if the movie doesn't get made with an actor, it was just they wasted 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Filming something. So, like I said, just value their time and show them that by offering them things that are pretty just standard, industry standard.
Yeah.
For filmmakers.
Definitely. I see what you mean. Let me ask you this. So with IMDb and film festival credit, if a film is, do you think that there's a certain level in which, like, because, you'll have people say, like, "Oh, I'm going to put it up on YouTube," because that's a big thing now.
Yeah.
At what point would you draw the line? Like, would you draw the line based on quality, or how would you draw the line based on, like, whether they should send it to festivals as opposed to YouTube?
If you have something that is, we've talked about this before, but if you have something that's more comedic, YouTube is probably is a pretty good forum to apply it, because it can be seen by a lot of people, and YouTube has more comedy than drama, I think.
Yeah.
But Vimeo is something that you see a lot more serious types, a lot more serious demo reels and actor stuff and movies onto. But my big thing is, if an actor gives a performance, and I just mean, like, they don't phone it in.
Yeah.
These people are actors, and they are on camera, they're crying, or they're emotional, or they're, something that they probably perceive as award-winning material, or possibly deserving of an award, that belongs in a film festival. That doesn't belong on YouTube, because that's a waste. Because film festivals are where actors can get noticed.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think like the key thing here is once you're done shooting and you're going to give an actor rewards, the most important, I think what we can draw from this is the most important like payment without giving them money is you have to put your effort into getting exposure. Which, I mean, honestly, if you're a director and producer, why you wouldn't do that is beyond me.
And that's the biggest issue, is that, and anybody will tell you, in all of movies, amateur or professional, like 80% of them don't get done.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of movies that do get done. I mean, you see a lot. I mean, so if you see all the movies that are in theaters right now, imagine 80% more than what's already there. Yeah. I mean, and some movies could have been amazing, but they had various reasons why they didn't get completed. A lot of them for dumb reasons. A lot of them are just for creative differences, or they mistreated an actor, or, you know, an actor dies, or they ran out of money. You know, there's all kinds of reasons why they cannot get finished. But it should never not get finished because you just didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
That's not an excuse. I'm sorry. And there's too many amateurs that go, I fell out of love with this, or I watched it so many times that I didn't like it anymore. And I go, well, you can also say the word water 1,000 times in a row, and it'll lose its meaning.
Yeah, you still have to drink it, though.
You still have to drink it. Yeah. You'll still have to say it at some point in your life. But, you know, that it's part of it. Follow through is everything for anybody. You know, if I tell you I'm going to show up as an actor on your set and I don't follow through, you get screwed. And if I act in your movie and you don't follow through and finish it, I get screwed. And you get screwed. Yeah, whether you realize it or not. It's like, if you don't see it, the effects right away, fair enough. But I'm sorry, if you spend 5 years not completing what you start, it just becomes a habit that you won't break. You'll never break it.
That is so true. That's very true. And I think I said this in the last episode, and forgive me if I didn't, but I've always thought, you know, and it's fair to say, you know, people will always get that cold feet early on of whether or not I should bother finishing X. But this is another slab of evidence saying, yes, you should always try it. And short of like a real problem, like some real event happening that stops you, like you should always finish a project.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't have to beat yourself up on it. And just because you submit it to 1 or 2 festivals doesn't mean that it's going to be seen by Steven Spielberg and he's going to blacklist you because it wasn't up to his standard. It's it just doesn't happen like that.
Honestly, with film festivals, it takes a long time for you to get the clout to be sent to any like major one. You have to go send it to small ones for a long time.
Yeah, and it also takes money to submit them to big ones. And odds are, if you're listening to this, you don't have it.
Yeah, if you can't even pay your actors, then of course you're probably not going to be submitting to Sundance.
Yeah, and that's another thing though. If you did get to Sundance and you get distribution, a lot of you, assuming that you're at least semi-pro or even semi-amateur, you got an actor to sign a consent form using their face, their name, their likeness, their image, whatever, their voice.
Yeah.
If you make money on that project, they deserve to get paid. Regardless if they signed a thing that said, I'm willing to do this for free.
Yeah.
You didn't intend on making that much money on it, and it is not fair to the people who helped it get made.
Especially if you don't have any. Like, I can understand someone saying, oh, I can't pay my actors yet because I got this deal, but I have to pay the money for the deals, just paying off all the loans I took out on the...
And that's one thing.
Yeah, but just like, oh, look, I made $2,000 for winning this film contest.
Yeah, then you should reward. Everybody should reap the benefits.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, I think it's a good thing of form. Like, if you make some money, at least for your main actors, the ones who put in all the time, it's at least good, especially because a lot of times, if you want to call people back, you know, to have them be in other stuff, it's good to establish like a positive relationship with that community.
Yeah, it's like, listen, there was a short film that I was doing called Silhouettes, and I needed a girl to just fill in this part. It was a small part, and I even offered her like $50 just to be in it for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because it really was important to me, and I really thought we needed it, and we did. But she also, then she knew how to work the same camera that I did, and so she ended up helping film part of the end fight scene of the movie, because all 3 of the main actors were in the shot, and we needed somebody there. And so I paid her, even though I didn't pay anybody else, just to show that I valued her time.
Yeah.
Because I go, listen, these guys have already been in this movie, so they're going to stay in it. They're not going to not... Yeah. I'm not going to do another day of filming because I haven't gotten my money. It's like they understand that we're in a rush. And when you're in a pinch and someone really helps you out, show them that they helped out.
Yeah, it's always good. I mean, at least for goodness sake, buy them lunch or something, you know? It's
that's a given.
Yeah.
If you don't even provide food for your actors or your crew... then you really you don't really deserve a lot of
if you're doing an all day shoot and you can't manage some water and sandwiches,
people will leave.
Yeah,
people will leave they will leave your set at the drop of a hat, because even like I said, if they're semi-pro and they already agree to do this for no money, nobody's going to agree to starve themselves.
Yeah, they'll leave to go to lunch, and then you lose people for hours and hours and hours. It's a big mess.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on to the next stage, since we're going to kind of move through the production line as a good line of questioning.
Sure.
So my next question is, in pre-production, what do you how important is rehearsal? Obviously, this is a loaded question.
Yeah. How important is it?
How important is it? Is it really important?
On a scale of 9 to 10, how important is rehearsal? It's like, rehearsal's extremely good, mostly, not even just for the actors and getting their lines down, but for you as the director and the filmmaker. Mm-hmm. Because you need to see how your stuff looks played out before you start shooting. You need to have a clue as to what you're doing. Because if something doesn't work in rehearsal, thank God it's just rehearsal. You can change it.
Yeah.
There's some time to fix things. And I don't mean the rehearsals you do right before you're shooting a scene and running through stuff.
It's like
the read-throughs.
Yeah, the read-throughs and stuff. And, you and I both know this, with those scripts, lines you think are great on paper, they can come out sounding awful when someone says them.
Alec and I have made a lot of bad stuff.
Yes.
And it wasn't because we tried to make bad stuff. We had full intent on making good stuff. But when we got there, just some of the things that we had written or organized, or even just shots that we had planned out in our head that just were we're going to have this. Like, I remember we did that one, the one, we'll just call it Villain.
Yeah.
Where it was supposed to, like, Alec is an extremely talented digital artist. If you're watching this, you're actually looking at one of his pictures right now, as the video picture. But is it you and Kyle in a spaceship?
Well, I'm doing one for this.
Oh, perfect. So it's me and you doing something.
Yeah.
I wonder what it is.
Yeah. Future
David, what is it?
Thanks, David. All right.
I thought it was that. Good one, Alec. But, what was I talking about?
You were saying, with Interview with a Villain.
Yeah. Okay, so Alec, being an extremely talented digital artist, was like, I'm going to do comic book panels. And it's going to fade up from the comic book panel, and you're going to be in the same position as the comic book panel, and then the scene's going to start. We didn't shoot it for that. So when we did the scene, like a comic panel is still... And so it starts on my face, but I'm already in motion, like, while this thing's fading up. So there's a still picture that he drew of me in black and white over a moving picture in color of me fading up. And it just didn't work. And we put music in that same scene, and it was too fast-paced for the slow, intense, dramatic thing we were going for. Alec knows what I'm talking about, and we've done this on multiple things. My stuff, too. you know, there were things in my short film that I made that Alec was in called Olivia for a 48-hour film contest, and Alec's part was great. He underestimates himself as an actor, but the editing choices that my extremely talented editor made just threw people.
Oh, yeah?
Because he would do these, like, slow-mo to sped up shots, and I love that stuff, but he would put, like, a transition noise that sounded like a black lady screaming. Like, so, and I didn't understand it. Like, I'm watching the movie take place, and I go, well, there's no stopping this. There's 300 people watching with me going, well, that was jarring. You know what I mean? And because it was like, she just I get her the stuff, I get her whatever she needs, and then it would go from slow-mo to sped up, and it would go, ah! And I was like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing with rehearsal, too, is it's like, I've learned that one of the big things, too, is if you don't do your rehearsal and then, like, you're on set and then an actor does something that you think's, like, odd, you know? Like, it's not, like, because there again, if you just give them the script, you're essentially saying, run free, you know?
Interpret it however you see fit.
Yeah, and then you come out and go, oh, no, you were supposed to cry in this scene. I mean, I know you've run into that plenty, where it's like, okay, now do the scene crying.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go.
As much as a filmmaker, you are the controller of the remote, and I am the remote that has buttons available for you to press. Crying does not come as easy as changing the channel.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go to the input, find the correct setting, and pull up a crying scene. So
we'll just get ILM. They'll digitally put tears.
Yeah, we'll do it in post.
Oh yeah,
guys, don't worry about the tears. We'll just do it in post. We'll put a fan in front of his face.
But yeah, so rehearsal's very important. I think we can both agree on that. So
yeah,
my next question is: with pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a tale of the worst, like, pre-production cycle you've had in recent memory of, like, before you even got to set.
I've had it where people, this even happened with a movie that I was looking forward to. There was a script that they had written, and screw it, you know what? I don't even care if this movie ever gets completed and sees the light of day. People will agree with me. The Downward Spiral. Now, Alec has a unique position in this because I went to like 4 pre-production meetings, both for crew and for cast, because I was there just to assist in any way I can. That's just kind of the way I am on these amateur sets. If I'm not getting paid just to act, I try to help in any place that they need a place filler.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do it, just because I want it to be done and, get done fast and be done as good as it can. Now, they had written a script that was awful. And then they go, I've got an idea for the script. And I go, great, write that shit down. Their idea was worse. And then they go, got a better idea. And by better, they meant even worse than the last one. And so they're just rewriting this shit, like, every single day, basically, and sending me a new draft and a new draft. I probably have, like, 16 emails of different versions of this script. And here's the thing. They took out all the good bits and made them into bad bits. That's the parts they changed. It's sort of like if you told somebody, what would you change about this donut to make it better? And rather than saying, fill the hole with more dough, they said, burn the donut.
Just icing.
Just no, not even, just stale icing from last year that we found in the back. Like,
how do you improve this donut? All right, get rid of everything. Just pour sprinkles in a ring.
See, that's kind of, I'm not even kidding though. It was bad. And then Alec, came to a pre-production meeting, and what was great is people go, "Who the hell is that?" Because Alec had no affiliation with this other than me ranting at him.
Yeah, I was just along for the ride.
He was in my car when I got called. We were at Walmart.
Yeah,
and we were eating at McDonald's. Shameless plug. And we were eating at McDonald's, and they called me, and they just go like, "Where the hell are you?" And basically, they didn't tell me that I was supposed to be at a script read-through.
Yeah.
They didn't tell the lead actor that you needed to be there. They didn't send out any emails or anything. They just kind of assumed that I would show up because I'm telepathic. And so Alec being with me, he just goes, "I'll roll with you if you want." We go off to the production meeting. Then everyone's like, "Who the hell is that?" And I just said, "He's my manager." And people bought that extremely quickly, and then they just let him sit in and passed him a script. And we read over it, and this script was awful. And the best part, and the reason why I love Alec, is that he's extremely blunt sometimes, especially when it's not his movie. And he reads it, and he just goes, "I didn't get half of this stuff." Like you just go, "That end part was just shit. It was just bad." And you just go, you said I performed it better than it read on paper.
Yeah.
But there was no fixing that ending. Like, and he's like, "How about this? Here's like 4 different ending options I'm just going to throw at you." And they're all, guess what? Brilliant. Like, some of the ideas that Alec came up with were amazing. And these guys go, "Tell you what, I'm going to take that idea and I'm going to make it shittier."
We're just going to not. But, and that's kind of the thing. This is the thing also with rehearsals. It's funny that you do bring up this story. I think there are 2 important lessons here. One, this is why rehearsals are good, because if an actor tells you, "I can't read this," there's probably a reason.
Or it doesn't make sense. I mean, listen to your actors when they say that. They're really not trying to be a dick. They're just trying to understand.
Yeah.
Is this really what you want?
And that's the thing, too, is it's like if an actor says, "I don't get this character," do not, and I'm guilty of this, do not get defensive about your character. Because if they don't understand it, there's a fair chance the audience doesn't either.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing. That's what actors do. Assuming they've been doing it a while and they're not brand new. If they're new to it and they're just doing that because they've seen actors on television shows go, "Oh, my character wouldn't do that." If they're just being a douchebag about it, then ignore them and go, "Listen, you don't have the right to speak on this." Or if you are a very competent director and you are extremely confident, you can just say to me, "Just do it like I tell you to."
Yeah,
And I'll do it, because honestly, if you're that confident, I'll do what you want. I'm just going to have to trust you on it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Like Alex said, they're bringing it up for a reason. And actors are keen observers of people. And that's all they do. They watch movies differently than other people do, because they do it like character study. Yeah. They see things that they like.
They watch people differently than people do.
They're hyper observant, extremely aware of a situation. Like, actors will usually acknowledge a situation that's awkward as opposed to avoiding it. Mm-hmm. They can pick up subtleties and nuance because they're always looking at your eyes and studying your face and your voice and just everything. Because you, as an actor, you have to draw from your real life experience, and what better way to do that than by studying everything around you. Mm-hmm. And so just listen to the guy. He might have something, or girl, they might have something good to say.
Yep. And I think the other important thing to take away from this is, if you're sending an actor, like if you're involving, like if you've got a script, don't send them the final script,
Yes, please.
Don't rewrite it 16 times. Because if you're rewriting a script, because for those who haven't been to film school, in the real movie industry, they edit pages.
Yeah, they do pink sheets and blue sheets.
Yeah, they edit pages. So if you're editing more than a couple pages every time someone reads it, then you shouldn't have called an actor already. You need to go back and write this.
I could not agree more with that. That's a great point to bring up, because I can't tell you how many productions I've also... If I counted how many productions that people have pitched me and sent me scripts on, it's in the hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they aren't ready. Some of these scripts don't have periods or commas. Some of them tell the actor exactly how to act in parentheses, and they're extremely long. Like they go, he needs to slowly start to weep as he's saying this. And here's the thing. If you don't know this about actors, they are taught, not told, taught. All right? That you mark out any directions on how to act in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they go, listen, if you are an actor, this is your job. This is the one thing that is yours, and you need to be competent in it. And by being competent, you have to ignore other people's incompetence. Okay? Because to tell someone, he cries at this scene, the actor would have made that decision, ideally, on their own.
Yeah.
It's not. It should jump off the page. It shouldn't. That's what it should be. If it's a sad scene, it's a sad scene. Do you think they were having difficulty in Saving Private Ryan, working up a sweat, while they're running around, or working up tears when their best friend in the movie died? I don't think so. I think most of those professional actors go, oh, this is my character's most intense moment. This is heartbreaking. And then they just deliver. That's what they're good at. And to treat them like they're stupid and go, you're upset here. It's like, oh, really? He just walked in on his wife cheating on him. I thought he was happy-go-lucky. Thank God you put in parentheses, you put in parentheticals, gets upset.
Yeah. And there's a difference between describing a scene where it's like that they're establishing what the tone is and just telling them how to do it. It's like if you write like, oh, David walks to the graveyard with the air of depression about him.
Yeah, see that's you being an artist and telling a story, because if you took the lines out,
yeah,
I completely understand that. But if you took all the lines out and then randomly in your script you just had gets upset,
yeah,
it would seem like where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, it just seems like you don't trust your actor. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier. A trust is a big part of it.
It is. If you trust people, you will always have a better production, no matter what.
Moving on to my last pre-production question. So,
sure.
I think you can agree with me. There again, this is a loaded question. Scheduling. How important on a scale of 10 to 10 is scheduling? And scheduling right. Because I think you can tell a really fun, terrible story about bad scheduling.
Yeah.
And bad time management with an actor.
Bad time management with an actor, especially if you were trying to be something in the industry, will shoot you in the foot every time.
Yeah. I mean, ironically enough, this is how you and I met each other on a set. Was I was dealing with bad time,
and I think you should tell that.
Yeah.
Once.
Okay. Well, I'll start. So
yeah.
We were on a small student film, and so we were filming in this little bar, or it was actually a pretty big bar, and so we had already done a day of shooting, and we were on day 2, if I'm not mistaken, out of a 3-day shoot. So the first night we had all been there till like midnight, filming like it was supposed to be like a comic book movie. So David was like a hoodlum thug.
Yeah, I had like a leather coat on, and I was doing a really bad Boston accent.
Yeah. So
it was bad.
I thought it was
Mark. It was Donnie Wahlberg.
It was Donnie Wahlberg. It was Donnie.
And if it's Donnie over Mark, you know it's bad.
So the second day, they keep filming scenes and scenes and scenes. So David has been wandering around for like 5-6 hours, and it is now midnight.
Yeah, haven't even gotten to my stuff.
Yeah, so we haven't even filmed a scene. So essentially, they finished this one like brief like fight scene, and so I wrangle up. I literally was like, I went outside and I started setting up lights.
This is the best. Now let me jump in and tell the story from my perspective. I am standing around doing fuck all for 5 or 6 hours. I'm watching people bumble their way through filming something. Now, granted, I understand I wasn't the fight choreographer. We had actual weapons, like actual knives and stuff, and I understand being cautious. But this should have been discussed well before we all got there. So
I think we should clarify. On this movie, I was lights, and I was only lights.
Yeah, he was only the lights. And the person who was, I forgot who was the AD, who was the person. Oh yeah, it was a guy named John.
Yeah.
And
no, John was the director.
Oh, John was the director. So. Woefully incompetent.
Yeah, well, okay. It was a lot of it was he wanted me to be the director. I couldn't because I had a job to go to. So I couldn't be there hours ahead of time.
Au contraire, Alec. When he got on set, he uttered the phrase, "I'm the director, I can do whatever I want."
Yeah.
And he said it more than once, and multiple people immediately go, "Not fucking true." Now, anyways, he comes outside. I'm supposed to have this scene with this other guy who's supposed to play like an equal hoodlum to myself. You know, we're just a couple of gangsters walking in. Our role is basically goes as follows. You come around this corner, you're bullshitting with each other, guy punches you in the arm, you walk inside this bar, you walk down this long alleyway, all the way up to where the big confrontation scene is going to be. And it's going to look really cool. And so I'm like, sick, I can't wait. We're standing outside around this corner for fucking forever. John can't make a decision, but we have the camera out there. There are no lights in the scene because we're coming out of the darkness into the light that is hanging over the door to this bar. And Alec, he's just kind of pacing back and forth, and he's just like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, I can't believe this is taking this fucking long. He's like, do you have any idea how long these people have been here? And he's like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Because Alec and I had already hit it off pretty well, and he immediately felt bad for me after seeing how long I'd just been waiting to say like 4 things. And this fight scene was getting nowhere. So he just goes, we're not doing this, John. And he basically like pushed him out of the way, and he just goes, you two, you're going to come walking up here. Right when you hit this part of the light, that's when you're going to do the punch, then you're going to walk inside. Okay, let's film this shit. And he grabbed the girl who was the camera girl, and he just goes, just point it there, just follow them. And then we do the scene, and we did it in like, 2 or 3 takes?
Yeah.
And it took maybe 10 minutes, and then I was able to go home.
Yeah. So that was kind of like, and it's one of those things, and I'm sure you want to tell your fun story.
Oh, boy.
But you should take away from this. We're not like trying to be mean to people, because I'm guilty of bad time management.
We all are.
We all are.
This was exceptional.
Yeah. I think one of the keys there is what you always have to remember when you're thinking about actors is actors do not have to be there all day if you're not filming all day. You know?
Yeah, especially, and this philosophy of, well, they have a smaller part, so we will save it for last. Wrong. You need to knock the small ones out of the way, the day players out of the way, because you're going to have the leads there for a lot longer than everybody else. You'll have plenty of time to get their stuff. But this actor who has the small part might have only taken off work 1 day.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that shit done that day, sorry, they can't do it.
Yeah. And it's a lot to ask someone to like continuously take off work to work for free on a movie.
Yeah. It's like, even if it's part of their, wannabe career, I'm sorry, let's be honest, it's a small amateur film, and you guys obviously don't even know how to manage your time well. So let's call a spade here, and let's call you amateurs. Quit acting like you're pros when you're definitely not acting like pros.
Yeah.
Because pros wouldn't make this mistake.
Pros would not make this mistake.
They literally have a contingency plan from A to Z on professional film sets. And if you don't even have a B, like a backup plan, or a C plan, then you're screwed, man. If anything goes wrong, everything just goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. You can just go, well, fuck, we're all screwed now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make my grade. I'm not going to get the film done. This actor's pissed at me. He won't work with me again. And it just all crumbles. House of cards, and you're taking one right out of the bottom.
Yeah. So,
to the story that Alec wants me to tell.
It's a fun story. For me.
For you.
I didn't live it.
Yeah. I'll tell it in the way it's meant to be told, but it's not, it wasn't fun at the time.
No, I know.
I was called very last minute, like 2 days before they were supposed to shoot some student capstone. And they just go, our actor dropped out, and we need somebody. And we saw that you were in like 8 other capstones. We thought you were good enough. We think you should just do this part. We would really love it if you could. And I was down. I said yes. I was like, shoot me a script. I will do it. Blah, blah, blah. Now, skipping through some of the meandering bullshit, I show up. My call time on Saturday during the weekend was 2:30. And my call time for Sunday was also going to be 2:30. Now, here's the thing. On Sunday, I told them I had orientation at my brand new job in the morning. So I can make 2:30, but I mean, you know, I can't do anything earlier than that.
Yeah.
But Saturday, I had completely made available. So I show up on Saturday at 2:30. I am in hair and makeup and wardrobe, and I am done with all my stuff by like 2:50 or to 3 o'clock, somewhere in that realm.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, I had to drive 45 minutes, so about 40 miles, 45 minutes or so, down to this location on Saturday. So I left my house at like 1:45 in the afternoon, got there at 2:30, done by 3 for my wardrobe and makeup, and I proceed to wait. I get that. I get you got to set up stuff or whatever, but they had said that Saturday is going to be your big scene. This is where your character has this kind of this rage quit, and he ends up getting killed in the middle of this mayhem that ensues. It's going to be really action-packed and awesome, and you're going to look like a badass and blah, blah, blah. Really sold it on me. Mm-hmm. 7 hours later, at, around 9:30, 9:45, they gather everybody down on the bottom floor of this house. And they go, listen, we were extremely behind. We weren't able to finish what we were trying to do up there. And they turn to me and they go, and David, I'm sorry, but we won't be doing any of your stuff tonight. Now, do you think, audience, that is something they probably could have figured out a couple hours at least before they got to my stuff? No, of course not. It only took them from 8 a.m. to 2:30 to even set up the fucking lights for the thing that they shot for the next 6.5 hours, just to tell me we're not getting to your stuff. But they go, I'm swallowing my pride and I'm trying not to be a dick, but it is seeping through my pores. And they go, David, we're sorry, real sorry. Do you accept that? Like they're being very condescending and, pretty much going, condescending means I talk down to you. They said, to make it up to you, we are going to shoot all of your stuff first tomorrow on Sunday. Like once you get down here, we need your hair and wardrobe at 2:30. We'll bang it out and we will get on that and we will make up for this. So I'm like, okay, fair enough. I left for the night. I go to my orientation. I get out of orientation for my brand new job. I speed all the way down there, the full 45 minutes. I'm there at 2:30, on the nose. I'm in hair and wardrobe and makeup. And I had already made, this is another part of the story, but I had already made prior commitments to be on a co-host on somebody's popular podcast on YouTube. And I couldn't say no. It was a big night for his podcast. A lot of people were going to see it, like tens of thousands of people were going to see it. Couldn't miss it. Now here's the thing. I had to be back at my house at 10 o'clock, which means that I could leave at the latest 9:15 from this set. And I showed up at 2:30. So about 6 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. And I tell them, listen, I've got to go by 9:15. I have prior plans. We were supposed to shoot a lot of my stuff yesterday, and we didn't start on any of it. That's not my fault. Yeah. And I'm not going to feel bad about keeping my word and being there for my prior engagements that I had already scheduled. And I'm just not going to feel bad about it. And so they had a little meeting, and they cornered me in the kitchen, and they go, well, we just don't even think it would be a good idea to even start on your stuff. Because we don't want to be rushing through it. This is a really key scene, and we just don't want to even start on it.
In 6 hours. Don't want to rush.
Don't want to rush in the next 6.5 hours. And keep in mind, they were supposed to do my shit first, and they weren't. They were doing the other person, the actress's stuff when I got there. So they sent me home without food, and I had to drive the 45 minutes back. So in total, I probably spent close to 14, 15 hours down there over the course of a day and a half, and they didn't film one frame.
Yeah.
And I had stressed about it all day, made myself available, could have been doing other things, could have been hanging out with Alec if I wanted to on Saturday, but I wasn't able to do that. And I had to leave my orientation in manic fashion just to get out of there.
Yeah.
Because other people were going to stay longer, but I was like, I need to get out of here by this time. And they were like, okay, I guess. You know, and they just disrespected me so much while on set and treated me like my time wasn't valuable at all. And it was just, it was a nightmare.
And then they sent you the most pretentious email on the planet.
Yeah, they sent me an email that will forever make me laugh. Cause
you just need to print that and hang it up.
I think I will. I can't read it right now. It's still too premature, but trust me, if I ever make something of myself, that will be read to the thousands.
At the Oscar speech.
Yeah, at the Oscar speech. I'll give a teaser. Sabotage!
Yeah. So, it is something, this kind of goes to, we're not trying to be sour grapes about stuff, but I want people to understand about your side of it and how it is like, it is to an actor, it's different from like, a cameraman, if he shows up and nothing gets filmed, he kind of wasted his time, but there'll always be more camera things to shoot and stuff. For you, it's like every time you're a part of something and nothing comes of it. That was a potential for exposure that's now gone. And that's why I definitely empathize with that innate frustration, because it'd be essentially like if I wrote screenplays, and every time I sold one, the person said, "Oh no, I accidentally deleted the only copy from my computer."
You know what it feels like? Also, and I apologize if this is a bad example. We can cut it if it is. But it sort of feels like when you do it for free, like if you were a prostitute who did something very degrading and the dude just skipped out on paying you.
Yeah.
And you didn't get your part of the bargain. He got what he wanted. You were there. You helped him out. But you get nothing in return. And that's kind of how it feels. It really does make you feel kind of like a whore a bit. Like,
yeah,
you really do feel
used.
You've been used. And that's really what I'm getting at.
Especially in the case of someone like you. Because, also, I'll tell people, a lot of early, aspiring actors are usually pretty down to, lend a hand with basic stuff, too. And if they're willing to do that, it's like they deserve your, respect as a coworker on a movie,
Yeah, I don't consider myself an idiot actor. I don't consider myself dumb to where I just go, I just act, kid, and I completely back off. It's even I feel like unless if I was getting paid on a union set, I feel like I would always pitch in and lend a helping hand, just because why the hell not?
Yeah.
If somebody's sitting around and I have the capability of doing it, and I hear somebody muttering to themselves, I need this lens cap, and I need it right now, and I don't know who to ask. And I'm just like, lens cap, you got it. And I'll just go and get it. Yeah. It's better than sitting around and wasting time going, oh, that's not my job, or I can't ask him because he's upset, or blah, blah, blah. It's like, if I know what you want, I will do my best to get it for you.
Yeah. So I do want to move on, since we're winding towards the end. I want to talk about production, and I wanted to get your take on what is, in your opinion, good set etiquette with an actor. Like, how should the crew be on set to make sure that you do the best job you can?
Whatever the scene is, if you're part of the crew, if you really want to be on point and everybody would thank you for this if you're on the crew. Read the script. Know exactly what scene is being shot and exactly the emotion and the intent behind it, okay? I'm not saying you have to know every single shot and every single nuance of the scene, but I'm telling you, if you are cracking jokes on set when an actor is trying to get focused, has to do a scene in which they are in tears, and they are just giving their heart and soul into a scene. It's like, listen, you have no idea, and we've talked about this before, you have no idea what an actor had to do to themselves emotionally to get to that place.
Yeah.
And you're just joking around, fucking it up. And it's like, this is the one thing they do. It's like a heckler at a comedy show. It's like, listen, I get 15 minutes that makes me happy and feel like I'm worth something, and you're ruining it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't just shut the fuck up for 2 seconds and let me do my thing. I'm not fucking with your stuff. We talked about the Christian Bale thing before, where it's like, he's like, I'm not fucking up your lights. I'm not fucking up your set. I'm not bothering you while you do your work, but you're fucking up my scene. And it's like, only after I started getting on real sets and really starting experiencing getting mistreated by some of the cast or the crew or whatever, it's like, you realize that makes more sense. And it's like, this is a huge multi-million-dollar movie with a guy who at the time was like Golden Globe winning and everything, and they're just treating him like dog shit, like he's just a normal dude.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I think it's always fair, I've known people who you don't know, who are more outside of the creative side of any sort of production. And I always heard complaints about like, oh, this actor did this and this actor did that, and oh, they're being kind of prima donnas, blah 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 blah. And I always said, no, an actor's art is their emotion in their body. And I've heard, I don't remember who said this, but I remember this saying about how actors live with their emotions right under the surface, ready to call them at a moment's notice. And when an actor's calling that to the surface, you can't, like you said, you can't have some guy sitting there like futzing with something around them. That's some stuff that should be taken care of before because once they hit that spot, they're working themselves into that.
Actors rely on an extreme amount of, like I said, of observation and empathy. Mm-hmm. If a scene involves you, for example, going to a grave, and the setting is that your wife is died, and so is your child in a horrific accident, and you're the only person left standing, do you think people who are listening that is a time to be cracking jokes behind the camera that the actor can hear? And just because you're not recording any sound for this, that you're allowed to talk?
Yeah.
It's like, that's really disrespectful to that person's craft. Because that's like saying, oh, well, the PAs aren't on screen, so I can just,
goof around.
I could fuck with them because no one even's gonna see them anyway. They're just nameless, faceless, nobody gives a shit. And it's like, yeah, that's disrespectful to the PA even. I've had scenes in which I was having to get teary-eyed and get very emotional and really into a scene, and I was so close, and then I've had people fuck it up. I've had people get in my head. I've had camera people, fucking around with their stuff because they hadn't prepared before, they didn't rehearse properly, or they didn't rehearse at all or talk about this shit beforehand, and they're talking about it right in front of you. And it is extremely hard to get into a sad mentality when right in front of you there's a guy clacking a slate, and they're going, okay, we need a 35 milliliter, we need a 35 millimeter lens right now. Okay, I need to be able to pull focus. See, right now it's on anamorphic, but I need to have the black bars while we're filming. Can you get me a framing? Can you give me a framing, though? I need you to pull the focus because you need to get me the framing. Now, all right, we need to get that flag out of the way. Get the flag out of the way. Get the boom over there. No, you're going to have to scoop it. You got to have to scoop it. You're going to have to scoop it. Okay, go ahead and clack the slate. All right, sound, speed, cameras rolling. Are you ready to go? Let's do it. It's like, dude, I'm trying to give you something here. When it comes to that stuff, keep it to a murmur. Keep it to a whisper. If there's a serious scene, you need to match that intensity. If it feels like a funeral, be silent as the grave. Okay?
Yeah.
And if it's a happy-go-lucky scene and they're goofing around, then yeah, maybe you can crack a few jokes. But even then, let them do their job.
Yeah, especially because it's like once an actor is on that stage, you know, it's exactly the same as any other art form. You know, if a musician was about to start playing, you're not going to fucking walk up and sit next to him. Like, hey, what you doing?
Or you're not going to...
violin there?
It's like, you shouldn't be and shouldn't be cracking jokes if you go to the opera.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be yammering at each other about the previews in a movie theater while the actual movie's fucking playing.
People do that, though.
Yeah, and it's annoying as fuck, okay, because you're interrupting it. And even though those actors aren't tangible or real and they're not in front of you in person, you're ruining the experience for everybody else.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because you don't want to take it seriously, there are a lot of other people who will.
Yeah. And that's a key thing with a set. It's like you have to... I mean, that's kind of really a big thing. It's like you have to take it seriously because the actor's taking it seriously. You know?
Yeah, I mean, see, look, if they want to crack jokes to you, let them do it, but read their emotions. Be professional to them. You know, come on. They're trying their damnedest to make this movie work, and you're fucking it up just because, what? You the way he pronounced a word in the scene made you laugh?
Yeah, I mean, someone did that around, like, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, let's say as Daniel Plainview in There Will Be Blood, he had to say the phrase, you know, I like Grey Poupon on my sandwiches.
Yeah.
Okay, and people laugh because he goes, I like Grey Poupon on my sandwiches. You know, like, it sounds goofy, but it's like, don't fucking laugh while he's in the middle of that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
if you laughed on set in the middle of that, he'd probably, you know, it would be like the ending of There Will Be Blood, except it'd be
I'm finished. You know,
yeah,
like with a bloody bowling pin next to your head.
Yeah. But, so I think, so we've talked about a lot of stuff today, so I'm going to wrap it up with your final thoughts on, like, student films in general, on the ones you've been, and kind of like, what do you think about it? You know, just your open thoughts about the whole student film process and how they try and recruit actors and stuff.
I understand that it can be stressful being a student filmmaker and an amateur filmmaker, especially if you're a student one, just because, you know, you're having to appease one or two people who are your teachers. And it's not to diss them, but listen, art is art. And one teacher, you know, criticizing your stuff shouldn't and doesn't make or break you, unless if you let it. And the problem is too many of them, I mean student filmmakers, let it get to them. And it ruins it. It ruins their creativity. They shut it off. Or they adapt their creativity in a way that it was never meant to be adapted to.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, like Lewis Black has said as a comedian, he just goes, you know, the diet that works for one of you will kill the person sitting right next to you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's true. Everybody's different. And you can't please everyone. And it sucks that you can't please your student, your teacher for your film class. But that's okay. You have to be able to defend your art.
Yeah.
And you know that. I know that Alec has personally dealt with that same kind of influence where it's like, you know, he's had, you know, one or two people who had this grasp on his emotions.
Yeah, and you know, I got to jump in here and I say, you know, it's intoxicating. Like when you're in there and you get these professors and they build themselves up as really important people as the gatekeepers of like this industry, which really they're not. Which you can only really you don't realize that until someone comes and shakes you out of it.
And I mean, I like to think that in some ways I did try to shake Alec out of it, and I don't know if I did solely, but I was at the time when he was in film school, I was outside of it. Mm-hmm. I was in his stuff, and he was one of my best friends, even then, and he is now. But it's like I hated seeing how much it affected him. It was depressing. And it was depressing him. And it's hard to watch. I mean, it really is. It's hard to watch someone grieving in a way that you're just like, man, if only they could just break through that glass ceiling. Yeah. They'd realize that there was never a glass ceiling. And that's the whole thing. It's just like, the reason it's even more heartbreaking, it's, I don't know,
You could say it's really hard when you're like an actor because this person is trapped in this little bubble that they've sealed themselves in, and you're sitting there trying to get across to them because you have something on the line with them.
Yeah, and it's also, like I said, with actors, it's about empathy, all right? Their whole life is about trying to empathize with every type of person, good or bad, so that they can later use it to their advantage for their craft. And it sucks. If you are always around people who are depressed and you are an empathetic person, you will in turn become depressed. Mm-hmm. I mean, because you're surrounded by it. And you're like a dog feeding off of your owner's emotions. I mean, you really are kind of like, I wish there was something I can do, and you feel helpless. Because there was a time where there was nothing I could say to convince Alec that his script was good. Even if it was. And the teacher didn't like it. And it's like, well, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter what he says. Because if it really did, he wouldn't be teaching you. He would be doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that it's those who can't do, teach. And that's what it is. I mean, they can teach you the basics, but after a while, the only way you can advance in anything is by doing. And that's the only thing.
And I would say that also has to do with learning about as a filmmaker, as someone learning about how to communicate with actors.
Yeah. About
performance and about directing them. That mostly just comes from doing. You just have to
the more you do it, it's like the more you know, the more you're able to know.
Yeah.
And that really is. So the more you do something, the more you're able to do it. And it becomes second nature. It's like if you knew nothing else as a director, if you knew nothing about cameras, but you knew how to talk to actors, you'd always find work.
Yeah.
And and the reverse goes the same way. If you know everything about the camera, but you can't talk to actors, you'll still find work. But there's also a big happy medium there.
Yeah.
Where you can do the best of both worlds. And then you'll get double the work. Okay? And that's the way to look at it. It's not, I can get a lot of work this way, I can get a lot of work that way. You can get the most work if you do both.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to end for now. I'm sure we'll be talking to you down the line as we go through this,
Yeah.
So, anything you want to plug or say before we shut it down?
Sure. I have a YouTube channel called The Walking David, in which I do a lot of impression videos of Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones impressions and reviews, and I do live streams and things like that. Just kind of little fun videos. I have about 40 on there right now. And Alec is in a few of them as well. We review Independence Day on there, and he reviews Free State of Jones. And I'm thinking about uploading the Moana one that we did on Facebook and actually putting it on there. And just seeing how people react to it, because it was pretty funny. We always have a fun time when we review movies. But also, if you have an Instagram, I am at Mr. David Grayson. It's all lowercase and no period. And also on Facebook, you can follow me on Facebook and just see what I'm up to and see production stills and stuff from a lot of the stuff I do.
Alrighty. And if you want to check those out, I'll put some links in the description.
Cool.
Down below. Well, that does us here for another BrownCast Odyssey. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to put them in the comments or email us with the link provided and let us know what you think. This is Alec Brown signing off.
And I'm David Grayson, and thanks for having me on.